Andrew Tate markets his misogynistic views with this concept of being a high-value man.
They follow that women should only sit at home, women should only be cooking, women should only be cleaning.
And I think the reason why a lot of young boys fall prey to this is because now at least there's a huge emphasis on being successful.
Andrew Tate is kind of representative of what a lot of the Manosphere is, which is an online ecosystem, which I have to say is not all problematic. In Manosphere speak, it means that you awaken to the real truth about the world, which in their idea is that women are favored by the society actually, even though the mainstream narrative says otherwise. They think that men are the new oppressed class.
I have literally been told by a guy my age that women belong in the kitchen. And I was talking about my career. I was talking about, I want to do this, I want to do that. And he was like, I don't know why you have these ambitions. And I was like, what do you mean? Influencers like this prey on the fact that, these guys aren't going to go and do this research by themselves. So whatever we tell them, they'll take at face value. So if they say, feminists and feminism is bad because it's a radical, illogical, extreme movement, chances are those people whoever is listening to it isn't going to go and do their own research.
Few times I've tried to argue with people like this, and the problem is that they argue on the same fact. So as much as you push forward, they're going to repeat the same thing, and it just bores you out.
What would they repeat?
Women are stupid, women are stupid, women are stupid.
They'll say it in 4 different ways, and that's it. Whatever you bring.
Women are stupid, their brains are inferior. How many other ways can you say it? This is a personal perspective, but I think that the increase in short form content is what's pushed Andrew Tate and all of these influencers to the forefront of everybody's mind.
Hello and welcome to the News Minute. I am Dhanya Rajendran. This is a very special telecast where 2 teenagers are joining me in the Bengaluru studio. So why are these teenagers there in our studio? I'll tell you soon, but let me introduce you to them. Joining us is Arya Cheravattatta. She's 17-year-old and a student at a Bengaluru school. Welcome, Arya.
Hi.
And there's Siddharth next to her, Sid. Right? Sid is 14-year-old. He also studies in a school in Bengaluru.
Hi.
Hi, Sid. And the reason these teenagers have joined us is because of an article that we published this week done by my colleague Lakshmi Priya. It's called Inside the Manosphere That's Luring Our Teenage Boys and Young Men. So Lakshmi did a lot of research into what is the Manosphere and how there are influencers like Andrew Tate and many Indian versions of him who are influencing teenagers, young men, boys. Now, how are they getting influenced? Andrew Tate, for example, to simplify it, is someone who believes that women are inferior to men. Now, he may couch this in many different ways, saying men should get respect, men should earn money, men should provide for the family. But at the end of the day, they are spreading misogyny in our society. And a lot of teenagers are consuming this content and their parents are completely unaware of it. Okay, so when someone like Lakshmi does a story on the News Minute, people can think that, okay, this is just adults exaggerating. Our kids cannot actually be watching all this. Our kids cannot be subscribing to all this. I have a teenage son, so I don't live in any such illusions, but a lot of parents do, a lot of adults do. So let's ask the teenagers themselves, right? Is this true? Do a lot of people watch Andrew Tate? Are you aware of Andrew Tate? Arya?
Yes, I am aware of Andrew Tate. I'm not sure if a lot of people watch him now, but I do remember a time, I think throughout COVID, where he was very prevalent. Literally everywhere I looked, either I was seeing his content or people were talking about him or he was just there all the time. So I do think that he's definitely a significant figure.
So what do these boys who watch Andrew Tate, like, what do they say? How do they behave? Do they behave differently from the others?
They're very one single-handed mindset. They follow that women should only sit at home, women should only be cooking, women should only be cleaning. They're very insulting. I don't know if that's the correct. Yeah, very insulting to everybody else. And they think of themselves as very great people compared to anybody else. Some of them not even apply to gender. They just think that they're great in all fashions. And everybody else around them is stupid.
So there are kids around you who watch Tate.
Very much.
Even now. And they'll discuss also saying that we watch this.
A lot.
So tell me something. What do these kids? What are their ideals, or what do they talk about? How do you know? Okay, this is a person who may be the Tate kind.
I think, okay, I've had honestly a lot of personal experience with guys like this. I think a lot of girls in my age bracket have, but they basically, so Andrew Tate markets his misogynistic views with this concept of being a high value man. And so what I've gathered is that he basically talks about how men should have provider mentality, and how, you know, the patriarchy is the way to go, and about how to be successful. And I think the reason why a lot of young boys fall prey to this is because now at least there's a huge emphasis on being successful. And so when there's this seemingly wealthy man who is somewhat good looking, has, no, I don't believe this, but you know, who's preaching this stuff, you tend to believe it, I guess. And so I didn't go on 4chan or anything like that, but I did do a quick Google search, and I kind of found out that a lot of people, I don't know, you can confirm or deny, but I think a lot of young guys think that they don't have male influencers to look up to. So I think when he blasted on the scene with his mindset views, I think a lot of people followed.
There is a lot of male influencers out there, but I think that they are not promoted as much as the Andrew Tate side, or as much as the female influencers. A very good example is Kobe Bryant. He is a good influencer. He died a few years ago, and not many people know about him, and he was really great at what he did.
Lakshmi, tell us quickly. Manosphere sounds quite scary, but is it really that scary? And what exactly is it?
Hi, hello everyone. Hi Dhanya, hello guys, nice to meet you. So before I get into what a manosphere is, I'll quickly explain who Andrew Tate is. Andrew Tate is this very controversial online personality you guys might already know. He rose to online fame around 2018-19, around that time. And he was a professional kickboxer before that. He's a British-American man. So how he rose to online fame, or online notoriety, if I could say that, is by marketing himself with this particular get rich, get women lifestyle. He started saying that you have to do so and so things to get rich, to make so much money, and that is the only way to get women in their lives. You have to be a high value man to get proper women and to get a good life, to be a dominating man and stuff like that. So somehow, I guess, young men who are navigating their own masculinities and their own lives in these uncertain times as it is, start finding this kind of content kind of appealing. But what makes Tate particularly problematic is how he has used his platform to, normalize harmful views like women are inferior to men, or that men should treat women like possessions, or that men should not be focusing on emotional expression, men should not be vulnerable. A lot of it is targeted at reinforcing the gender roles that we have slowly been pulling away from over the years. So his ideas have been called out for encouraging abuse, misogyny, and sometimes even violence for that matter. So he has also made extremely problematic statements sometimes, like with kids here, I don't know how much I can say, but he has made claims like women who get raped should bear some responsibility for themselves. Yeah. So, and another important thing is he even was arrested in 2022 in Romania for some pretty serious charges, such as human trafficking and rape himself. So all of that adds up to a pretty damaging message, I must say, especially for younger guys who might not know any better, who see this guy as a hero and develop this unflinching loyalty towards them. So coming back to your question, Andrew Tate is kind of representative of what a lot of the Manosphere is, which is an online ecosystem, which I have to say is not all problematic. A lot of it is just discussions about men's lifestyle, male mental health and all of that, like relationships, etc. But a lot of the problems come because we do not know where the extremism starts, because it can get pretty extreme pretty quickly and the lines are really blurred. And these people throw around terms like alpha male and beta male, where alpha male is the dominant man, beta male is the passive man, passive, too nice guy, weak guy. So this is the aspiration, to be the alpha male. And, that is by pulling back on emotional expression and, going back to the old idea of what a man is, etc. And then there are terms like red pill and blue pill, which is of course derived from the Matrix, where red pill means that swallowing the red pill means that you awaken to the harsh realities of the world, harsh truth about the world. In Manosphere speak, it means that you awaken to the real truth about the world, which in their idea is that women are favored by the society actually, even though the mainstream narrative says otherwise. They think that men are the new oppressed class. So they think that, we live in a gynocracy where men have to be more cutthroat in their attempt to, have a good life for themselves. So this is basically what the Manosphere is about.
No, but so the other day I was watching a video of Andrew Tate. I normally don't watch videos of this guy. So in the video, you can almost think that he's logical because he's saying that a man wants respect in life, right? So whether it's through money or job or whatever, a man is always looking for respect. So if you're married to a woman who doesn't respect you or who doesn't look after you, then you as a man don't get respect. And he gives an example. I come home with 4 of my friends and my wife comes and asks, hey, what do you all want to eat? And she's ready to cook. Then, in front of my friends, I have more respect. So sounds logical, but it's actually steeped in patriarchy, right? Now, let's forget all these talks, but what is the actual real life consequence in a classroom? Like, how do people talk? What do people tell each other? Tell me that.
In a classroom, there are a lot of times where students will just try to insult other people, and that's mainly when this happens. And it's not even related to a fight. They will just decide like, okay, that's the person I'm going to aim at today. And they will start to pick up. If it's a girl, then these topics come up. If it's a boy also, the topic like, you shouldn't be here, you look gay. Things like that would happen a lot. You should just go back home, sit and cook.
Sit and cook?
I've been told that before. I have literally been told by a guy my age that women belong in the kitchen. And I was talking about my career. I was talking about, I want to do this, I want to do that. And he was like, I don't know why you have these ambitions. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, women, female brains are inherently inferior. And this world is built for a man. Like, there's a reason why they say mankind and not womankind. And I was like, damn, okay. I'll be honest, I think I agree with everything that he said though. In the classroom, it's kind of crazy. First of all, they use gay as an insult a lot, which...
Yeah, big time. It's not even an insult. If you want to think what you want to think, why does other people have to judge you for that?
Yeah, it's so, and also it's so regressive. It's so regressive because it's honestly, it's kind of shameful as somebody from that generation to think that there is so many guys and even women who have this insane sense of internalized misogyny who automatically bring themselves down. Like, there's this whole pick me movement. I'm sure you've heard of it too.
What?
Pick me.
Okay, no, I have no clue.
Oh, really?
Please enlighten me.
Wait, Lakshmi, do you know anything about the pick me girls and guys?
I don't know if it is a movement per se, but I'm familiar with the term.
Okay, I don't know if it's a movement as well. But
tell us what is it.
Basically, it's, okay, see, I don't know if this is correct, but it's when, so I know pick me girls is when a girl purposefully brings other women down and kind of puts herself up to appeal to men.
Okay, that's very common.
Male validation.
Thank you. Yes, male validation. So when girls kind of, they'll either, they'll make fun of another girl in front of a group of guys for wearing makeup or liking inherently feminine things to make themselves look better in the eyes of these other men. Pick me thing happens as well. And then on top of that, they use a lot of slurs to insult other people. I don't know, can I say retard on this show?
No, I don't think so. No.
So the R word is used a lot throughout, and then also I can say rape, right?
Yes.
Okay, so they kind of they talk about rape and assaulting women very casually, and it's horrifying. It's scary.
I don't think they understand what they haven't seen, or they don't understand where that goes and like how it is developed and
So
how
these are
scary
just
it is.
words they use.
Yeah,
See,
they
I
think
would
it's
say that. Sorry, continue.
Go ahead.
Okay, see, like, as much as I think it is somewhat of a valid argument that, oh, they're just saying words, I think we live in a generation where information is so accessible that there's no possible way that you don't know what you're talking about. And if you don't know, then you should be open to learning. But a lot of these people who follow these types of influencers don't want to hear another perspective. They only believe what they've been told.
Lakshmi, so I'm not even from your generation. I'm way older than you are. But we normally tend to think that with every passing generation, people become more learned, liberal, whatever it is, right? So when you were doing the story, was it also shocking to you that people much younger than you are perhaps thinking in more regressive ways than you imagine them to be?
I think it is more complicated than that. So I do think there is reason to believe that younger generations are more liberal or more egalitarian compared to older ones, especially due to a variety of factors like education, obviously, then exposure to different perspectives, or even social media. But imagine social media is exactly the thing that is pulling them back towards the regressive side here. So, especially in this context, in the context of this manosphere, it is often seen as a reactionary movement, right? Where many young men, many young individuals are feeling like they're losing their power or place in society because the world is changing so fast and so quickly. And they feel disillusioned and frustrated with modern gender dynamics as well. Because they feel like as society becomes more egalitarian, they feel like women are getting more rights and more power and they're taking their jobs, and it is threatening. They perceive this as a threat to their own place in this world, their own traditional roles and their own jobs and everything. Even though there are a lot of bigger factors playing into it, this is what the people in the manosphere push, that it's because women are taking your jobs, that you are not getting jobs anymore, and not capitalism or bigger economic crisis that we are facing. So overall, I think this manosphere is kind of offering a counter narrative which kind of becomes appealing to those who feel alienated by these progressive changes. So I think that is influencing a lot of the thought processes of this generation.
See, women have been oppressed and pushed down in their own homes for centuries on end. So this may be all that they know. And so then when they have sons and they tell them these things that, oh, you have to make a lot of money because you're the man of the house, then that also puts a lot of pressure on them. And when pressure is put on something, it's going to erupt at some point in time. It is literally a pressure cooker. So at some point, if you're going to tell boys that this is how you have to be and this is the mold that we're going to pour you into, and you have to take care of your sisters and you have to take care of your wife and yourself and the family, eventually one day they're just going to blow it. And they need someone or something to direct that anger towards. So when influencers, at least this is what I think, when influencers like Andrew Tate and Jordan Peterson and Aiden Ross or whoever start talking about what it really means to be a man and how, being a man is so stressful and so horrible and so much societal expectation is placed upon you, which it is, they tend to resonate with it. And then those influencers can add their chauvinistic, misogynistic views, and then the kids who are listening to that will automatically take it in, almost like subliminal messaging. And then starts this, and they prey on illiteracy. Influencers like this prey on the fact that these guys aren't going to go and do this research by themselves. So whatever we tell them, they'll take at face value. So if they say, oh, feminists and feminism is bad because it's a radical, illogical, extreme movement, chances are those people whoever is listening to it isn't going to go and do their own research. So they're just going to keep on believing that feminism is about women having superiority instead of, oh, it's about equity. So I think being, not having the skills to be proactive and research on your own, added with pressure from your homes, plus these people screaming their views at you, this is just what's bound
So
to
would
happen.
better communication help? For example, like I said, I have a teenage son, right? So if I communicate with him better,
He
and
has to want to listen to you.
and that's another problem. But if I do communicate with him better and I tell him that, are you watching this? And if he says yes, then I'm like, why do you watch this? I mean, and I explain to him, do you think things could be better if parents are more cognizant of what is happening?
Maybe.
Yeah, but it's again both sides. The child should also be open to.
to hearing other perspectives.
Yeah.
Because in Lakshmi's article, obviously I only read a couple of paragraphs, but I saw that some parent had tried to speak to their child about it, and their behavior had become increasingly worse, and that child wasn't responding. So obviously I think it's a known fact that, you know, your teenage and childhood years are when your brain forms and when your opinions really where you can mold it best, right? That's why they tell you to take up an instrument when you're younger, because you're more likely to be good at it and whatever. So when you're putting these kind of ideas into a young boy or girl's head or anybody's head, they're more likely to cement it into their core value. So boys who have been brought up in traditionally patriarchal households, since they were a child being told that, oh, you have to be the man of the house and please go and make money, this is going to be their mentality for the entirety of their life. Unless they're open to change.
So 17-year-old Arya has read a few paragraphs of Lakshmi's article. So if you're adults, there's no excuse for you not to read it. I mean, we are discussing this a lot, but the article gives you a lot of perspective into what a manosphere is. And remember, Andrew Tate speaks in English. He's for an English crowd. But there are a lot of Indian influencers from Toppi in Malayalam to different people in Hindi and other languages who are doing the same thing. And you may not be aware of it, but children are watching this, consuming this content. So do go read Lakshmi's article. It is behind a paywall. People have been telling us that it's an article in public interest. It should not be behind a paywall. Unfortunately, organizations have to function. And for that, they have to also make money. The option before us is to take advertisements, which we do not want to. That's the reason why we tell our subscribers, our readers to pay. So there is a QR code flashing on the screen. Click on that or on the link in the description. Become a subscriber, read the story. And now I'll go back to Arya and Sid. So very quick question this is. Where are people consuming this kind of content? Is it Instagram, YouTube? Where is it?
Mainly, I saw it mainly on YouTube when I first looked at Andrew Tate. When it first started popping up in my feed. I think it is expanded to Instagram and Twitter, as she pointed out a lot.
Yeah, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Is it X? Do we have to say X?
No, we can say Twitter, no problem. I don't think people understand
I don't like X
even now. So, you know, one thing that we often say is that teenagers can behave in many different fashions, but they will change over time, right? So do you think that your classmates or the people that you know who talk like this, who consume such content and behave in a certain way, they will change over time? This is just a phase.
I hope so.
So I feel like maybe when they move out of their house, go to college, and this, whatever they say, open their mouth and say it kicks back in their face, and that might create a chain reaction, forcing them to change. But again, it depends on them and their interest to change post that kick in the face.
Correct. Interest to change is definitely a valid point. Yeah, I can't lie to you though. I've seen people like this be reprimanded live, and I think it fuels it. I think it's the whole thing.
Reprimanded live meaning?
Like, I've seen boys and girls and whoever talk about, you know, being, oh, women belong in the kitchen, women suck, women are stupid. And then they've been reprimanded by their peers or teachers or whatever. And I've actually never seen it have an effect, ever. And maybe temporarily, like maybe for a couple of months, they'll simmer down, but it almost always comes back.
Is what I've noticed. But I think it motivates them. Because it's like, wow, I'm so controversial, I'm so special. So,
but Lakshmi, is that something that you saw? I mean, in the article, you do quote a few people who are in their 20s and they seem to have simmered down, right? They believed in all this once upon a time, but now they're sort of neutral.
Yes, I spoke to a few people who told me that they left behind the Manosphere content. So I would like to share one of their experiences here. This guy, let's call him Varki, which is a pseudonym. He reached out to me through Twitter, or X as they call it now. So he told me that he used to be in the Manosphere space from around 2016 or so. He reached there primarily because he's a cinema lover, and he started feeling very disturbed by this increased gender and race politicization of cinema. This is what he told me. So he went looking for content that told him why this is a problematic situation that is taking place in the world of cinema. So he ended up in some conservative YouTube channels like No Bullshit or something. And from there, the algorithm started directing him towards more conservative people like Ben Shapiro or Jordan Peterson. And these people often dip into these gender dynamics, and they are essentially part of this Manosphere ecosystem. And the algorithm started feeding him videos like feminist cringe compilations, which apparently he took a lot of interest in at the time. So he was telling me that around 2019, Kerala saw a rise in a lot of anti-feminist content, primarily because he says there was also a rise in left-leaning content, like channels like Malu Analyst and all were focusing on political correctness. And apparently this was a backlash to that. This is his opinion. So apparently there was a lot of anti-feminist content in these apps around that time. So Varki told me that he remembered how there used to be chats about how to debate a feminist, which usually used to be a very unilateral way of looking at things, apparently. So he used to attend these debates, and he used to agree with a lot of the opinions that these people were saying. But at the same time, he started feeling like they have such visceral hatred for feminists or LGBTQI+ communities or other groups such as that. So he started to think that maybe there should be more nuance to these conversations. The primary thing that sold him to Manosphere was the promise of looking at all sides of the argument, which he was not seeing anymore. And he started to think for himself, and he started to feel that, okay, maybe this is not as safe a space to be in, and he started to pull back. So I think this is a very important factor that we should imbibe in our kids, which is critical thinking, right? It encourages children to, seek out multiple perspectives and engage with diverse ideas, and they can see beyond these narrow, harmful narratives and see them for what it is, or at least recognize that there are more opinions beyond this, and this is not the full picture, essentially.
So do you think critical thinking matters? For example, in your class, let's say there are people who believe in this, subscribe to this. Do other people resist them with critical thinking? Even if they don't apply it themselves, what kind of resistance do they face?
There are a lot of times where people would stand up and try to push the fact that they've stated down. But I see a lot of times where people, even though they have good facts, because they don't want to bring themselves to trouble, they just tend to silence and sit.
Oh, so you're saying that the people who are critical thinkers just prefer to keep quiet than indulge in like a
in general,
battle?
Yeah. If you were a critical thinker, you wouldn't want conflict. What I've seen.
Hey, no, nothing like that. Why can't critical thinkers be...
what I've seen. I know, I'm just saying from what I've seen in my school and in and out of class is that
I agree with him, because even the people I spoke to, they chose to pull back rather than engage in more constructive conversations and tell them that, there are other sides to this argument as well. Their decision was to just leave that space. But I think a lot of it is also simply about how hard it is to debate these people, because it doesn't really come from a space of facts and logic, a lot of it. So yeah, that is also an issue.
No, Arya,
That's
they
a
may
challenge.
be hard. Arya, they may be hard to debate with, but do they face some resistance? For example, when that boy told you that you belong in the kitchen.
Okay, that was a one-on-one conversation, so I resisted. But see, this critical thinking thing, I agree. First of all, critical thinking is a skill that everyone should develop, especially when they're young. But I don't know how you can forgive someone if they learn critical thinking later on but have already affected people with these thoughts and words that they're saying when they're younger. Because I think that I consider myself a critical thinker, and when I see other people who have opinions that I disagree with, debating with them is of course a challenge, but it's a necessary challenge. You have to have discourse, otherwise you'll never learn anything and you'll never be exposed to any other type of view. If you sit quietly in your critical thinking bubble with whatever you believe, you'll never be able to learn other opinions, and more importantly, other people will never be able to learn your opinion. So I think critical thinking has to be utilized efficiently because
Don't mean your bubble.
A few times I've tried to argue with people like this, and the problem is that they argue on the same fact. So as much as you push forward, they're going to repeat the same thing, and it just bores
Like
you
what?
out.
What would they repeat?
women are stupid, women are
Yeah,
stupid, women are stupid.
They'll say it in 4 different ways, and that's it.
Women
Whatever
are
you
stupid
bring.
in 4
Women are
different ways.
stupid, their brains are inferior. How many other ways can you say it?
No, I'm stating it as an example.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, no, got that.
Yeah.
No, but tell me something. Would a person like this who tells you on your face that women are stupid or that their brains are inferior, or anybody that you know, do they behave differently with their parents or adults around?
That's a great question. I don't know because I've never been unfortunate enough to experience that. But
So their parents can be completely unaware of this.
can be, probably are not.
Yeah. Have you had friends like this who behave in a particular way with you or other girls? in
I've
the
seen it
classroom?
happening that people behave different with different people. Like I've seen the complete opposite, where they're nice towards school, and when they go home, they're like totally against. Don't want to go home. I hate my parents, like that. I've seen that happening. I've seen people that are really mean in school shut them out and sit at home very innocently.
I think we've spoken about this before. A lot of it comes from the house. Because if you're taught from when you're young that being a man is... also, I was watching a Pakistani serial today, and they really like to talk about how having a boy is like the best thing in the entire world.
Yeah, even I've heard a lot about that, which is
Yeah.
I'm totally against it.
Yeah, dude, be grateful you have
A child.
A child, a healthy child. So I think it's also very jarring for people who live outside of India to hear that we have laws against knowing the gender of your child because of female infanticide. So I think that's definitely a major aspect of it, is that have you been told since you were younger that you are God's given blessing because you're a man? Because you're not. You're a blessing because you're a person. A man, debatable.
I think overall, you should be happy that you have life. And you have-
Correct, and that you're healthy. And a lot of people aren't taught this. So recently I was talking to this boy in my class, and we were just having a conversation about basically everything. And he comes from a very traditional family. They used to live in the US and they moved back to India, and now he goes to school with me. And so we were talking about relationships, and he spoke about how he thinks that men should protect their women, and about how a man's job in life is to be strong, and if you're a scrawny thing, then you're not actually a man. And I was like, okay, that's a very extreme opinion. But obviously I wanted to hear more about it, because like, where is this coming from? So he spoke about how he thinks that, if boys our age, so he's 17, I believe, and my age bracket is 16 to 17. So he thinks that guys our age, if they don't go to the gym and if they don't do some form of workout to get big, then they're not actually a man. And see, this is such a strange opinion to have from my point of view. But for him, this is, and I asked also, I was like, why do you think this? Because I know you don't consume Andrew Tate-esque content. So where is this coming from? And he was like, from my entire life, since I was younger, he's the eldest brother, and there are 2 other girls in his family. Since the time I was younger, in his family, and he has a younger brother. So since the time he was younger, he's been told that, you're the eldest brother, you're a blessing to this family. You have to take care of your younger brother. They have quite a large age gap, so he looks up to him. And he was like, you're going to be the man of the house if anything happens to your father, if he gets old or whatever it is. And I was like, oh, okay, interesting. And then I was like, oh, what do you want to do? And he was like, I really want to go abroad for college and I want to learn somewhere else. But because I've been told that I have to be the man of the house, I think it would be irresponsible to follow my own dream, because then how will I take care of the rest of my family? So, and I was kind of dumbfounded. I was like, because my family is very liberal, very progressive, and very accepting towards women. And my mom is a career woman, so I've always been told my entire life that you should always come first, regardless. Family is very important, but you should always come first. So to hear from a guy that too, who obviously has male privilege, to hear that he thinks that he has to stay at home and has to abandon his dream to take care of his family was so jarring. And I think it really gave me a perspective on how it is really influences are a massive part of it, but it also is a huge cultural and familial thing. So
Lakshmi, that's a very important point, right? That there's a lot of pressure on boys, on men. And sometimes when they don't know how to react to that pressure points, that's when they find it easy to just go to one side, a very polarized side, right?
Yes, definitely. We can't deny that India is still a very deeply patriarchal society. So the burden of these traditional gender norms and expectations, it's still very real for both men and women in our societies. So I think a lot of young men do feel like they're constantly under scrutiny to perform or conform to these societal standards of, being strong and successful and emotionally detached, providing for their family, being the big money maker and all of that. So at the same time, their experience, the reality of their experiences may not always match this, because women are moving forward, women are getting jobs. At the same time, there is this rising late-stage capitalism issue, unemployment, economic crisis and all of that. They're not getting jobs anymore, and they're expected to meet these expectations and they are unable to. And there are people telling them that it is because women are taking their jobs. And a lot of stuff like that is happening. So I think in many cases, this spaces like Manosphere offer these boys a kind of, a sense of belonging or a sense of validation perhaps, and it provides a place where they can vent their frustrations and kind of gain a sense of purpose or whatever, even if it is by ultimately embracing these hypermasculine and reactionary kind of ideals.
I think this is because of the lack of censorship, for sure, because you're exposed to so much, and there are no content filters anymore.
Yeah,
and
the biggest problem is zero filters. That's
zero
nothing.
filters.
Yeah.
I literally.
we are fighting against censorship here, and you guys want censorship?
No,
Well,
so
for children, yeah.
No, censorship. It depends. Like censorship,
Yeah, for
we're
children,
talking.
yes.
We're not saying censor freedom of speech.
No, I'm talking about explicitness. Not the government is censoring things like, okay, there's a war happening, let's remove that from the net. No, that should be
Not
let
our
out.
government, not our government.
Okay, my bad.
governments.
Yeah, governments in general. But when you put in censorship, it should be to cut off explicitness. It should be to cut off abuse, not to remove info to prevent a scaring of the
So
public.
there is violence in language, basically.
Yeah, there's violence everywhere, and language is just the easiest way to to get it across. He mentioned this earlier, but he spoke about how the word gay is used as an abuse. Like, oh, you
And
look
they'll bring
gay.
it up at like topics that won't make
Randomly,
sense.
for nothing.
If a school team, a football team loses a match, you're gay. You're
Correct.
stupid. It's not even related. No, did he play properly? That didn't even come into the question. Just you're gay.
You heard something else, no?
Yeah, and I'm a little shocked, but yeah, I'm just listening. Yeah, go on.
I've heard boys to each other also. I don't know if this is just how. Like, I don't want to say, oh, boys will be boys, because boys cannot be boys all the time. This is like, you can't tell your friend, oh, I'm going to rape you, oh, I'm going to abuse you.
I've seen this happening a lot lately. It's not funny anymore.
It's not funny anymore. It was maybe funny at some point, but
Once or
not
twice
anymore.
as a joke, it's one thing,
It's
and then
okay. But then also, I've had like guys talk about how, oh, you see that girl, oh, she's so hot, I want to rape her. Explain that to me, really.
that I haven't seen.
I've seen that. I've had friends say that to me. They're not my friends anymore, but they have said that to me. And this is where I think our talk about censorship comes in.
That's where censorship should happen.
Yeah, not censorship of general information and news, but censorship of like when can I say the word porn? Can I say it?
What?
Can I say porn? Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah. Okay, fine.
Okay, sorry. Like when you open your Twitter, you shouldn't be seeing explicit imagery like that. When you go on Instagram as a 13-year-old, you shouldn't be watching videos of people talking about talking about abuse and talking about how they want to abuse women.
That I totally agree on.
Yeah, because
That's where censorship
So you're
should
saying there
actually
should be
come in.
censorship as to what
Exposure.
kids watch.
kids
Not only
learn.
kids, yeah. It should be everybody.
learns, yeah, because everybody learns. This stuff
Learning
isn't-
doesn't stop.
Yeah, learning.
The entire idea of you're 18, you're going to stop learning.
Yeah.
I think that's the first thing that should come off
Yeah.
everywhere.
Because you get influenced daily. And this is a personal perspective, but I think that the increase in short form content is what's pushed Andrew Tate and all of these influencers to the forefront of everybody's minds.
I completely agree. Reels, shorts, and I feel that's all that kids are watching.
Anything, because, okay, see, our attention spans are kind of damaged. I'll be honest, I'll admit it. It takes a lot.
To get a group of
Yeah.
like the younger generation to concentrate
Yeah, my
is very tough.
sister, people younger than her, people born Gen Alpha, can't focus at all. I can focus because I have to study somehow. So you have to learn to focus. But you have to learn to do it, you know? And
You have to learn to focus.
I had to learn to focus. Up
So
until
sitting here 40 minutes, was that very
that's
stressful?
fine. That's okay because we're talking. But to sit quietly and learn something and attempt to understand something without verbal or auditory imagery is very hard. And it's hard for me. And like I have to study, which is why I learned how to do it. So if it's hard for somebody who had to actively seek out how to do it, can you imagine how hard it is for somebody who doesn't? So when over COVID and over the last, like in the 21st century, as we saw the rise of short form content in the form of Reels, TikToks, Vine, what is the other one? Musical.ly, whatever, everything.
What? I've never heard of this. What is
So
this?
the
Musical.ly.
Musical.ly and Vine, I think, were the predecessors to TikTok.
Yeah, I don't
and
think they
Instagram
exist
Reels.
anymore.
No, I don't
And
think
there's
so.
Snapchat.
Snapchat is I don't. I think for what I see, it's more
Might
of
be
personal
short form.
sharing.
Yeah, I think it's just sending pictures back and forth. For the last 20 years, 40 years, so let's say Gen Z and Gen Alpha, now only think with like 60-second attention spans. So, and that's horrible. Of course, it's horrible. But
I
it's
think
all we
that
know.
applies more to the people who use their phones than to the people who don't.
Yeah, but then everyone uses their phones.
No,
because
actually,
I
you know,
can't
when
make that general
When I sent
statement.
Lakshmi's article to a friend of mine, it's around I think it's around 6,000 words. So he said as a joke that it's too long. We need a TikTok video.
Have you seen also there's a rise in AI software that condenses information for you? Because nobody can read anymore. People are becoming illiterate. It's bad. It's scary.
More than illiterate, people don't want to read.
Yeah.
People don't
it's
want to study.
voluntary
Yeah.
illiteracy.
That is what is increasing this unawareness and this
Nobody, even though the entire world is in your hand, nobody wants to go and
Go
search
and
the
find
meaning.
the entire
They
world.
take assumption too much these days.
Everything is taken at face value. And so these influencers take advantage of that. Yeah.
So tell me something. Now, Lakshmi, when she was introducing the topic, she used a lot of words, right? Red pill, blue pill, incel. Are you guys aware of all these terms? Is that also used?
I'm not that much aware. So like till the last 1 week, I didn't understand these terms. But because of the guys who were using it, and I didn't want to learn it because I knew it wasn't anything in the good side. So I didn't go deep.
But you knew about these words.
See, I'm actually older than him, so I know a lot more. I don't know anything about The Matrix. I have no interest in watching the movie, but I know the synopsis.
I actually did know there was a movie called Matrix till the last 3 months.
Oh my God. To all the people in their 40s,
Yeah,
30s
correct.
watching
Sorry,
this.
bro.
Yeah.
Hey, can I say something else? I've never seen anything Star Wars ever. And I only don't watch it so that I can tell people that I've never watched it. They get so mad. It's so fun.
The till now when somebody used the word matrix, matrix was a grid
Correct.
that we use in coding where you label
My
one.
generation feels very insulted that you guys
Sorry.
are not watching Star Wars and Matrix.
I don't care.
Yeah. Okay, now let's just wrap up the whole thing by maybe thinking something positive. Do you see this saying, light at the end of the tunnel, that there are good people to look up to? Eventually things will be okay. People will get over this
Eventually,
phase.
this planet will burn. I can say that.
I'd be
also.
surprised if we survive for another 200 years.
That's a very cynical, it's very pessimistic, I agree. Our
But
views
guys,
are
do you not
cynical.
see any light
We
at the
have
end of
zero
this tunnel?
faith in humanity, sorry.
Considering to if you look at the ratios, there are more people who follow these than people who don't. And
There are also more men than women.
Are you
so-
serious that there are more people who follow them now than the people who don't follow them?
Yeah. And no, actually, the ratio of men to women is what, 102 to 100?
No, I'm saying those who consume this kind of content and believe in it, are they really a huge number or are they in minority?
No, they are in a huge number.
Okay, I think it's dependent on where you're looking. But on the internet and as a whole, I think they may not be at a majority, but they're passionate enough that their voices will be constantly heard. And like the way that it's going,
And
like,
at
look
this
at
point,
Trump. He's
I'm pretty
also a
sure they've
misogynist.
studied the way everything is how to get it into a person's mind. If you watch Mr. Beast's podcast, he'll talk about how he builds his videos in such a way that people want to watch them.
Subliminal messaging and the manipulation of
Their entire
our
aim,
minds.
as soon as you cross a certain amount of followers, your aim is to be able to get your content into their mind so badly that that person will come back and watch your next video.
Because like,
their
why do you watch
entire-
anything? It's because you're influenced to do so.
Their entire content is designed around that.
Subliminal messaging. Lakshmi, what are your final thoughts? I mean, these guys obviously think
No,
that
like,
even though the
men
people
can be
who
better.
no, I mean, just
I'm
to
sure
sum up-
there is a positive side, but the problem is that nobody wants to follow it because they're so
You
influenced.
see, women aren't getting into relationships anymore because they don't care.
women, I mean, your age girls are not getting relationships.
Yeah, my
That
age.
applies for both boys
yeah,
and
boys,
girls.
and nobody wants
Nobody
to date
wants-
anymore
yeah.
because A, it's dealing with the burden of another person, and B, you can't find anybody. There is nobody who'll agree with your political views or agree to disagree with them or believes that you are worthy of being a human being and having a career and a life. And on top of all of that, there is this constant inflow of information and nobody's listening
Nobody's filtering also.
and nobody's filtering. So
No, but you know what struck me is what you guys both said now, that the people who believe in this kind of screwed up ideology, they may not be large in number, but they're assertive enough to actually make other people also listen, right?
Not
And that is
everybody
problematic.
in the world is a Trump supporter, but all the Trump supporters are heard, So it's not about how many people you have supporting you, it's how strongly do they believe in what they're supporting.
And not only that, it's also about how much they know about what they're supporting. There are a lot of times where people will blindly support and then they'll suddenly get into a fight and then do their research
have
and then
nothing.
realize, they're in the wrong.
But then people who don't have information are unwilling to listen. So there's no academic dialogue going on. There's no exchange of information. Like
There's no research, proper research.
Yeah,
done.
we're in the era of the downfall of intellect. It's crazy.
Lakshmi, final thoughts. You are going to follow up the story with looking at how religion also impacts Manosphere, right? Explain that a bit.
Yes. First of all, I'd like to say it was such fun listening to you guys. I had a ball of a time. You're such bright kids. You have an amazing future ahead. So beyond that, I also understand that you're kind of pessimistic about your surroundings and how radicalized it is right now. But at least as adults, I guess we have the responsibility to hold on to hope that things will get better. And what we can do right now is, engage in these conversations, open up these spaces for such discussions. And we would love to carry these conversations forward. We would eventually like to look into how religion, specifically religious extremism, is tied into all of these spaces. Not that all people in the manosphere are religious or are motivated by religious beliefs, but there are significant overlaps in, the way certain ideas are framed, specifically regarding masculinity, authority, or, treatment of women, etc. So whether it be in terms of the incel violence across the world and how it is tied to Christian extremism or Hindutva and the manosphere in the Indian context, or even Andrew Tate had famously converted to Islam, and he had capitalized on many aspects of the religion to sell himself. and the way Islam and these spaces interact. All of these we'd like to look into, and even more niche aspects like gaming, digital gaming platforms, and how they enable many of these people, and all of that. So we're looking forward to carrying these conversations forward and having an open dialogue. And we would always love your input.
Yeah, important to have conversations. So, just final word to everyone watching. This was an experiment, bringing Arya, Sid. We would like to have more such conversations. So if you have ideas of stories that we should write, that we should focus on, then do tell us. You can write on the comments. You can write to us at members@thenewsminute.com. Tell us, and we will try to write more about culture, about what's impacting children, teenagers, young people, because we just can't focus only on politics and, the more things that adults deal with. We have to look at others also. So do write to us and tell us what you would like to cover. Thank you very much, Arya and Sid, for speaking to us. And of course, Adya, who joined us from Indore. And thank you, Lakshmi. To everyone watching, do read the article. Yes, it is behind a paywall, but it's just a coffee and a croissant a month that you have to pay for reading the article. And I think that much of commitment you definitely can have to a news organization. So do subscribe and do read the article. Thank you very much.